Hello, and welcome back to another episode with Zargo. So, I've spent, 6 months working on my tree farm. Clearly I'm in the same world as I was before. In fact, my old tree farm is down there. I've removed the withers that were hiding down there. This is something I was working on, which is the 2 wide tree farms, so I could do stuff with like dark oak, and I was also kind of looking at acacia and stuff. But this was something I was working on. It does not work, so we're just gonna leave that there. But I have improved my wither-based tree farm. Currently, I'm using spruce. This does work with all logs, just as before. Currently, it is turned off because I'm an idiot. We good now? We're good now. Awesome. So, first I'm going to walk you through what's all going on, and there we go. Sorry about that. So, as you can see, it's working. So, some things to note about this is, number one, this new wither design is working with 2 withers instead of with 1. I found that this just works better, as I had a lot of people complaining and telling me, and I even noticed that here, let me fly over here. With my old design, that occasionally the wither would break the system, or it wouldn't fire when it's supposed to. And that was a timing thing, and how fast the observers can read tick pulses, and all that jazz. I also noticed there were some difficulties with this setup, so I was trying to change all that. Because I noticed a lot of points where it was breaking, so I was trying to get rid of those breakpoints. So, one of the ways I fix that is I bring them up and I don't bring the wood back down, it just stays at one level. I still occasionally have this break in backlog, but it's not very often. So I will note that. Another thing that I'll note, there's a reason why I have levers here, and some of the stuff set the way this is. So basically though, this reduced the amount of times that the withers, fail to break blocks, and this is building off of a obsidian farm design. Similar to how the other one was based off of a different cage, this is based on on a slightly different version of that cage by the same person. So I've noticed a few struggles because there are some things here that I've added that weren't in the original design. Like down here. This will catch up eventually, I guess. Let me just throw a piece of cobble right there so it stops. Oh, I know why that's not working. It's being silly. I don't know. I want to see something real quick. If I do that. Yeah, okay, it works. It's just being silly. So, what is down here, these are just 15-minute timers. This was just a 15-minute timer setup. So that way I could time out 15 minutes. And have the system working. So I'm going to quickly show you how it works. Sorry that it's a little bit all over the place. Again, I'm not very used to showing off my builds, but I'm going to show you quickly how it works. So I'm going to plant a tree right there. Typically, you would come up these little stairs. Also, you wouldn't have this line of redstone, so I will destroy that for the schematic. Come in here, close the door. Hold the click button here, and you need to place a sapling every 1 second and 8 ticks. It's very specific. And I'll tell you about why you need to not do it any faster than that in a minute. So let me turn this on real quick. So as you see, tree grows just like before, gets pushed out, gets pushed up, gets pushed along, gets split between these two things, gets pushed into the withers break the blocks blocks fall, come back this way, come into these 2 tubes, get picked up by this 4 times unloader into this minecart, into a minecart that's hidden amongst the sand, into these 4 hoppers, into this chest, and then into this shulker box. You do have a small, oh, no loss, cool. Just takes some of them longer to get there. So I'm now going to put this repeater here. This is just so that way I can show you the exact timing it takes to, this is just so I can show you while it works. Quickly close. So now I'm gonna fly up here. So that's when it fills. It places it down exactly when it reaches the top there. It's perfectly timed. As it comes across, what happens is it gets pushed forward. Initially, I had these set to try to wait till there was 2, but occasionally when the trees grow, it actually fills this in twice, which causes it to double fill, which if they did 2 of those back to back, it would actually cause the wither to not break the blocks. So what I have here is essentially an etho timer, but it's set to only 1 block, and basically it only goes off when this block moves, and it turns the pulse into a 1-tick pulse, sends that pulse around to this no block and observer setup, which pushes forward the cobblestone here, which damages the wither, causing the oak to break. Over here we have 2 of the same setup, because I could not figure. One of these is not fast enough to deal with how much wood we're getting. 2 of them is just barely fast enough, although sometimes I have noticed difficulties in it, but it's not very often, from what I could see. And I could run it for 15 minutes and it ran just fine. And as you can see down there, I ran it for 3 sets of 15. And here I can show you, every second and 8 ticks. Gets me about this much wood, and it does get you some cobblestone. That is purely because these are all 3 the same. This is purely because one thing I noticed this in the end farm that I stole, that I'm stealing or I'm borrowing, I guess, the angering from, occasionally leaves the cobblestone block in front. It doesn't pull it back always all the time, like that. So and it's not always. Sometimes it pulls it back in time. Sometimes it pulls it back. Sometimes it doesn't. I never can figure out why. It's a timing issue. So that occasionally also happens, and I can't stop it. So might need to set up a way to. And it's typically down here, so you might need to set up a way to refill this lower wall. I never noticed it anywhere else. Over here, that might be a little more difficult, simply because of the stuff. Anyways, so what I did to counteract that is I am having a cobblestone feed tape. Very simple, doesn't need to activate very often. Just, it activates, every about 5 ticks-ish. Tries to push cobblestone, tries to get this piston to push a cobblestone forward. Down here, it just does it every 15 seconds. It tries to push cobblestone up. And if it can, it usually does. Sometimes it doesn't, as you can see here. But typically that doesn't cause problems because, as I said, most of the time it doesn't break. A good bit of the time it doesn't break, but it does break every so often. And if those cobblestone do break, then the whole farm stops because you're not damaging the wither anymore, which means you're no longer losing, you're no longer gaining wood, which means your farm will stop functioning here at one of these, which means it'll stop over here because it'll extend, and then it'll stop here because this breaks, which causes this to break, which just means that your whole farm shuts down eventually. So again, I have the extenders for the 12 block extenders over here. Now I'm going to show you why I have this set up this way I do. So one thing that I've noticed that happens if I turn this off, if you turn this off randomly, occasionally, it didn't happen here, luckily, but sometimes you'll get filled in, you'll get like 1 or 2 blocks here, and it didn't cause always problems, but sometimes it did. So what I decided to do I didn't set this up automatically. Is what you do is if you see that, you flip the switch, it pushes it forward, you walk over, you hit this button, you hit that note block pushes the block out, damages the wither breaks the blocks, and you're all good. You come over here, flip the lever again, click the note block, damage the wither breaks the oak, or wither breaks the wood, falls down. Yeah, and as you can see, for the little bit, I was running at about maybe 6 minutes. Got about that much spruce. Also got some cobblestone, so you just have to sort that out. I didn't really make a complex sorting system. I just wanted a little one, just to show that it functions. Yeah. The only places that I noticed problems, the reason why this wall is here, you don't really need it on this side, but you need it on this side. The reason this wall is here is to make sure that none of the skulls explode the redstone, and I'm keeping the skulls exploding a block and a bit back from any redstone items, because I wanted to make sure that it's not going to cause any of the redstone to pop off from the explosions. The only place I've seen any of the glass break is here, and even then, it was only one time in a 15-minute set. I personally think that your best bet would be to build this in the end, or to build this high up in the sky, so that way the wither does not aggro on whatever, like, this one's aggroing on. Like, he must be aggroing on a fish or something, and I just don't know how to deal with him. This one is aggroed on the iron golem, as he should be, and it's fine. The only reason this is a problem is because if this guy decides to fire a big skull, he might shoot it over here, which will break this, which will cause the water to flow back, which won't really cause that big of a mess, but it'd be mildly annoying to fix. But yeah, as I said, most of the redstone down here, which is the complicated bit, is my 15-minute timer. And then this was all stuff to just kind of allow the 15-minute timer to work. Otherwise, I haven't changed the actual tree farm itself. The tree farm has stayed the same. It's really just the two wither cage, just the addition of a wither cage, and how I've changed the design. I will be sure to leave a schematica. I'll add a schematica as soon as I get the chance to add one. Currently, I haven't made one, and I don't know if I want, and I don't know if I am, and I don't feel like making a mini mod pack to do it. One thing to note about this farm, if I don't reset my things, I'll cut that out, is the main farm is in a chunk. One of the withers is in a chunk, and then the other wither is in a different chunk. And you can see that all the redstone is lined up with chunks. Nothing crosses chunk boundaries except for down here at the cobblestone line, but that doesn't really matter most of the time. But I did try to keep most of the redstone, lined up to chunks, so that way it's very simple. This is technically a 3-chunk thing. I know it's spread out, and then you have this a little bit into a 4th chunk, and then technically 5 and 6. But these, you technically don't need these. I put them in because, as I said, occasionally the cobblestone breaks. That's hurting the wither, and it's just easier to have it auto fed to fill it than to wait for it to break and then have to fill it anyway. But otherwise, I think this is my farm. I did try to keep it small. When I do make this, the edge of the, well, not the exact, actually, yeah, the edge of the schematica, which I'm going to stop here. I'm not going to put this in because this is just my, you need more bone meal, add more bone meal area. So it'll be you got to line it up with the chunk border, and the other side you don't care. But this side over here specifically needs to line up with the chunk border. Once that's lined up with the chunk border, everything else will work just fine. There's one thing that's not included, which is this little lever here. But you know what? I stand by the statement of, yeah. But that'll be fine. This is basically your activation lever, and technically doesn't have to be like that. It could be any way you want. As I said, as I show here, I have it, you know, coming down and around. I have my own little activation lever, so it can run for a certain amount of time. You don't need this. Technically, you could have a lever here. And there you go. This is your on-off switch right here. Nobody needs to know. But so I'll clean this up, get you a copy of this eventually. But I think overall, I think this farm is a lot better off. I could show you a 15-minute set. Let me know if you want that to be added to the video. But overall, I think the farm is pretty good, and I definitely am happy that I have completed yet another little farm here for you. One thing I will say is you don't need to use deep slate. I use deep slate. Don't need to use stone. I use stone. I just put the things out of different things depending on where they were. I used stone brick for like the tree farm and the piston tapes, and then I used deep slate for where the withers and the killing chambers are. But I did that because to me, the deep slate is going to get exploded more, and I think the deep slate has a stronger TNT resistance than stone does. But I don't know that for certain. If you have a better idea for cobblestone feed tape, feel free to give those. And the cobblestone farms I'm using here are just little tiny ones, just a bunch of trapdoors and a staircase, so I can be a little lazy. Anyways, hope you guys have enjoyed. I have been Zargo 6, and I hope you guys enjoy my tree farm. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I will get back to them as soon as I see them and as soon as I have time. I will add that schematic to the description link as soon as I can. So feel free to like, subscribe, dislike if you want. And this is my version 2 wither farm. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Bye-bye.